Experiment similar to the 100th monkey phenomenon. A scientific team from Australia and Britain wondered if human beings possessed a grid similar to the monkeys. They did an experiment involving 1,700 people in Australia and found that humans also had their own grid around the Earth, stretching 60 miles above the Earth. So after this Australian experiment, they began to realize that something very definitely connects us all. As far back as the early 1960s, the American and Russian governments had discovered these electromagnetic fields or grids that stretched around the world. Human grids high above the Earth, about 60 miles or more. Soon, they'll find out that every species, every life form, has its own grid high above the Earth. We are connected to the Earth. We play an important role to the Earth, just like our cells play an important role to our bodies. The governments did a lot of research on us, and they discovered exactly what our grid looks like. It's based on triangles and squares. It's a very male grid that stretches around the whole planet. They knew that there was an energy field connecting people. Even in our society, we've observed that somebody on one side of the planet would invent something very complex at the same moment that someone on the other side of the Earth invented the same thing with the same principles and ideas. Each inventor would say, "You stole it from me. It was mine. I did it first." This has happened many, many times, stretching back for a long time. The government's discovery of the grid and the race for control was now on. A few years ago, around the turn of the century, there were 30 million species of life forms on Earth. In 1993, there were about 15 million. Around 30 species a minute are now becoming extinct somewhere. If you were to watch this planet from space, it would appear to be dying very, very rapidly. Dead zones are appearing in more and more places. This is not debatable. This is scientific fact. The only part that is debatable is when it is really happening. Nobody believed it would happen because they just couldn't accept this truth. New York City, for instance, has pipes that go 20 miles out and dump all their human feces into the oceans. They figured, well, the oceans will take care of it. But for the last 60 years or so, it's been building up into a huge mountain. Now, there's a huge mountain range of shit out in the ocean that is moving toward New York City. All around the world, the same thing is happening. Alexandria in Egypt once had beautiful beaches, now polluted. Pattaya in Thailand, the water quality is disgusting. So far, in the series 1 to 7, we have learned how the old cabal, through the elaborate use of the number and language system, English being the latest and most powerful, uses subliminal suggestions and wordplay to program their version of reality. Our created body of light energy includes two main fields. One is electrical and the other magnetic. We have seen how the positive male protons, the negative female electrons, and the neutrons gave inspiration for the manufacturing of a number system. This in turn led to the creation of a religious system and in turn to the establishment of a scientific system. Both systems were based on the manipulation of the structural characteristics of a beam of light. The number system was constructed to be just slightly off the natural course of creation, created purposefully to conflict one with the other. This is the true nature of duality in this three-dimensional realm. All this deceit is the result of a numbering system. The so-called five-sense world realities based on these sacred geometric and religious systems are unwittingly worshipped by every human being on the planet as being the truth of what life is all about. In reality, all these systems are corruption and have no connection to awareness. Life itself is also a complete fabrication and an immense illusion. A lie based on previous lies, multiplied by yet more lies, does not foster truth. It creates a universal lie, which is exactly what the whole universe is. Just as the elite bloodlines of the Illuminati families delight in building pyramids of stone and skyscrapers of steel, as well as cathedrals of immaculate design, bolstering their magnificence. Here we see that towers are also more sigil magic forms to hypnotize the masses. Energy is thought. The Luciferian Illuminati puppet families understand this concept. They know if we fully grasp this concept, their hold on humanity is over. Everything we see in front of us is thought energy that manifests in front of us only when consciousness is observing it. These energy atoms are like chameleons. They can eventually take up any form. Energy cannot be destroyed in this three-dimensional realm, but it can change its form. The holographic Disclosure 6, The Warning, was produced in an effort with others since the 1960s to break down the hypnotic trance, to stop or curb the coming devastation by making people aware of the biggest planned blood sacrifice which is coming of the Messiah in the form of a flood and a financial meltdown. The Kabbalistic subliminals are being implanted and introduced with such ferocity, establishing the reality the Luciferian thinkers desire to unfold. There's hardly a pause to catch one's breath. Consider these terms used liberally by the media over the past few months, which relate to the financial district of Wall Street. Financial meltdown, stock market plunge, market took a dive, home mortgages underwater, financial tsunami, asset liquidation, economic woes, just the tip of the iceberg. Wall Street takes a bath, titanic proportions, ripple effect, financial bailout, avalanche. And to mix it up a bit, a few earthquake suggestions. Financial market on shaky ground, Wall Street unstable, financial markets crashing. Bob Geldof warning students around the world something big and a big catastrophe will unfold. The students hearing this BS will now have this in the back of their mind. This will cause a butterfly effect in the conscious grid. They know we are a thinking being and we construct reality through thought. That is why they're trying to program this disaster in us, among other things. The beast can't be killed by protest, only by awareness. So who is the beast? You're looking at it every time you open your eyes. It's manifesting right in front of you. It is everywhere you look. The beast is 666. Every carbon atom contains 6 positively charged particles called protons in its nucleus and 6 neutral particles called neutrons. The carbon atom's nucleus is surrounded by 6 negatively charged electrons. The United States of today has been chosen through ancient times for a peculiar purpose known only to sages and adepts. The monster state used by the demonic thinkers to use the oil to cause war and blood to pour from the veins of humanity, at the same time loot it and morally decay it, then ritually sacrifice it. Sacred universal laws. One of the sacred universal laws was, do not hurt the oil. The oil is the blood of the planet and the lubricant of the planet. This is why Revelation 6, 5, and 6 in the Luciferian Christian Bible says, He opened the third seal, and lo, a black horse. He that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hand. Verse 6, I heard a voice say, Hurt not the oil and the wine. This little bit of serpent writing is referring to the times of tribulation in the world. So piously the serpent entity states that a balancing or judgment is going to be meted out. This is a reference to the horrors that the reptilian Illuminati thinkers will help to manifest in the ring of fire, which will unfold in the Pacific Ocean on both sides of the equator. The equator is the equalizer, or balances of judgment to be used by the God of judgment in the coming years. There is a warning, however. Do not hurt the oil and the wine. This is the energy and the drink of the mighty men of the earth, the elect of God. Today, great quantities of oil are found in deeper wells than are found below the level of any fossils. How could then oil have come from fossils or decomposed former living matter if it exists in rock formations far below layers of fossils, the evidence of formerly living organisms? It must not come from living matter at all. That's because oil is a mineral. Although the compound is self-generating, it still causes the earth problems. Think of it as taking a little blood out of a patient donor. The patient will survive, and the blood taken will eventually regenerate back to normal. If too much blood is taken out the donor, then the patient can get sick or die. The Rockefeller worldwide oil monopoly. Rockefeller sent his scientists well-paid shills to the Geneva Convention of 1892 and said oil was hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon, and was derived from the rotting of formerly living matter which made it a fossil fuel. This was a blatant lie. This was done to put a message to the masses that oil was scarce and would run out, so Rockefeller could monopolize on the pricing. Oil will not run out anytime soon. If it ever does, the earth will be in trouble. In all geology books and universities, it's written as a fossil fuel. What? It's written in university books and it's a lie? Think about all those well-paid climate scientists trying to pass the global warming scam, the carbon tax scam, the ozone scam, just to name a few. Remember this, just about everything you have been taught is a lie. Mr. Rockefeller was, just as his family still is, an interbred, Luciferian-minded bloodline leader who has had an incredible part in hoarding the wealth and destroying the health of the body of humanity. Again, this is by design. The Rockefellers funded a lot of researchers and research programs. One researcher was Alfred C. Kinsey. The social engineering of mankind through the media, the destruction of the family, wife swapping, the depiction of sex acts in the media, homosexuality, sadomasochism are promoted as norms, and the destruction of family morals and the social engineering of feminism. He also funded GM crop research. The secret of GM crops is that they don't last, they have to keep modifying them. This is because the original software of creation keeps rewriting the original codes back. This was known back in the 1940s. Only crossbreeding the originals will survive. This is because their purpose is genetic. Modifying them in an altered way will cause damage to the consumer.
Tightly guarded to stop it being destroyed by activists is the only genetically modified crop growing outdoors in Britain. This wheat contains a gene from the peppermint plant and produces a smell that deters aphids. It could reduce the need for farmers to use chemical sprays.
But some of these are non-GM, are controlled. So
The Environment Secretary wants to rehabilitate GM technology. It'll help to feed the world's billions, he says, and put the UK at the forefront of an agricultural and economic revolution. This is just a scientific trial protected by high fences. This wheat will never be eaten by human beings. In fact, because of the controversy, there isn't any GM food for sale in British supermarkets. But British livestock animals are consuming it, and we in turn are eating their eggs and their meat and drinking their milk. Unpredictable climate.
The yields were badly down last year and therefore prices have been very unstable, and we've seen the cost of food rise quite sharply in the shops because of that very reason.
Now they are killing bees with their Monsanto pesticides. Bees are known to communicate with flowers. Electromagnetic signals between the flower and the bee, they communicate information between one another. There, keeping their seed bank for their own use, knowing very well their GM crops are useless and toxic, engineered with a purpose. Through the ages, the elite have been manipulating the real history of the planet by destroying all the great libraries of the world and looting the real antiques of value and knowledge. They started to install the alien agenda so people would think the past was erected by aliens or reptilians. The alien agenda is the biggest deception to hide true agendas, as we will soon see. They destroyed the real schools of knowledge, and now what remains is nothing but a useless brainwashing tool to turn everyone into tax-paying zombies that suit the fabricated Illuminati society that's based on slavery, debt, and sexual deprivation. Barbaric false doctrines, the system that benefits only a few on the top of the pyramid. They infiltrated every government at the highest levels. They hijacked the public health industry and programmed doctors to kill their patients. They even programmed the masses to kill themselves and their children through food, drink, and suicide. Watch the Illuminati indoctrination. It is 100% accurate. There are thousands of patents that have been shelved by the elite that would benefit mankind, but not the agenda. A patent office is set up to steal other people's ideas. They are also set up to notify other corporate bodies to buy up your idea. They killed more scientists and have stolen more patents than you can possibly imagine. Check out deadscientist.com. Jewish-born Albert Einstein was the head of such a patent office in Switzerland. They turned him into a famous scientist out of thin air and gave him creditability out of mathematical and scientific formulas straight out of the hidden archives. Remember, the Illuminati is a broad spectrum title given to anyone who is illuminated into occult knowledge. These Cabal bloodlines are known by the title Moriah, Conquering Wind, the Family, and the Enlightened Ones. The Olympians, or the Circle, is a secretive title which is given to the members who have participated in the highest degree ritual known as the 360th degree full circle ritual. Freemasons run the governments of the world and strive to erect landmark buildings, monuments and national parks, etc., as strategic symbols of their influence and to instill the validity of the three-dimensional realm. Not only as symbolic power, these structures act as direct subliminal hypnotic suggestion. Their agenda, unknown to them, uses the flawed system of number and language rituals to build order out of chaos. They relentlessly build and construct the modern-day cities on behalf of the Illuminati elitist families, who in turn are simply illusions themselves, working within and in accordance to the Luciferian agenda of three-dimensional constructions, sincerely believing they are fulfilling the will of God and literally building His kingdom on earth. For thousands of years, spiritual information was kept secret. Priests and priestesses of various religions or cults would give their lives to keep the rest of the world from knowing about one of their secret documents or a piece of spiritual knowledge, making sure it remained secret. Some of the spiritual groups and secret societies around the world had their secret information. Then suddenly, in the mid-60s, the veil of secrecy was lifted. In unison, almost all the spiritual groups of the world opened their archives at the same moment in history. You can browse through books in your neighborhood bookstore and see information that has been sealed and guarded for thousands of years. Why? Why now? To bring changes to the world and to bring a slight balance of changes, otherwise the negativity will destroy even the elite themselves. Nuclear war fear-mongering. In 1979, when I was walking home from school, the postman was shouting that we were about to have a nuclear war. I ran home in shock and fear, but it turned out to be a false alarm. A training tape that simulated all the signals of a massive Soviet first strike had mistakenly been loaded into a computer at the U.S. Strategic Air Command's Cheyenne Mountain Control Center in Colorado. Movie after movie about nuclear wars, terrorists carrying nuclear bombs, was lurking in the back of everyone's minds. In the 90s, I came across a remarkable man named Bruce Cathy. He could accurately predict the time and place of an atomic weapons test. He also confirmed that a nuclear device cannot be detonated at any time or at any place. The device is based on the geometrics of space and time. The one secret that trumps all others. To be successfully detonated, the bomb must be geometrically constructed, placed on, under, or over a geometric position in relation to the Earth's surface and activated at a specific time in relation to the geometrics of the solar system. That means an all-out atomic war was an impossibility. Both sides could pre-calculate well in advance the time and positions of an atomic attack, plus the fact that only certain geometric locations could be detonated anyhow. A logical war cannot be considered under these circumstances. This could be the explanation for the proliferation of conventional weapons in modern warfare. That means Israel's nuclear stockpile is useless. It's all scaremongering. This is why if Iran laughs it off about Israel accusing Iran of building a nuclear bomb, it's all a bluff. This technology is over 5,000 years old and was known to the ancients, the music of the spheres. They have more devastating advanced technology at their disposal, so why stick to the old fear-mongering of nuclear bombs? The answer is simple. Can you guess? Because it's taken decades to install the fear and propaganda into the unsuspecting public, who never question anything and is easily fooled. Propaganda is the executive arm of the invisible government. Edward Bernays. In New Zealand, the Sun Herald wrote an article, "Building a nuclear bomb is easy enough. The hard thing is finding the trigger." What do you mean the governments are lying to us? Do you mean the books in universities are based on lies? Can they bribe everyone, suppress whole universities, and get away with it? The answer is yes. Stick your PhDs where the sun don't shine. Bruce Cathy pursued his research after observing several unidentified flying objects during his aviation career. He formed theories considering the geometric structure of the universe and the nature of time based on harmonic principles. Much of his work was deliberately suppressed by the establishment. I flew to New Zealand to meet Bruce after a lecture he gave in a tent. He told me that the secret government tried to bribe him with $1 million to keep this information under wraps. He refused. This was verified in his books. He also told me that the secret government has already cracked the ninth dimension in the late 1970s. Also, the Beam Me Up Scotty transfer technology was almost complete. The CIA was always present at every one of his meetings and lectures. None of the controlled truthers ever interviewed Bruce Cathy, not even the so-called UFO researchers. The IAEA is an ongoing fraud. The IAEA's main qualification for the Nobel Prize Fake International Agency medal is its many years of secret service to the Israeli weapons of mass destruction programs. David Albright from the Institute for Science and International Security with his testimonies on Iran nuclear program before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Was he Israeli's deep cover agent inside the IAEA when he worked with them? Is he one of the many think tank operatives with multiple and we fear questionable loyalties that we find heavily populating the phony think tanks in Washington that crank out disinformation reports on request? David Albright, surprise surprise, carries an Israeli passport, is treated as a VIP when he visits there, and has a very nice ocean view condominium in Haifa. The harmonic principles are shown in great detail at holographicdisclosure.com. The earlier pyramids were built using anti-gravity and laser technology. Once you understand the harmonic code, you will piece it all together. It's all about frequencies. We live in a waveform universe, and everything is sound, light, and vibrations. Check out the holographic universe. It's all illusion. Parts 3, 4, and 5. Dimensions and the waveform universe. Peru, pre-Incan. The visible-invisible bridge. A city in the Andes was protected by a rocky defile which could only be crossed by a bridge. Constructed of ionized matter, this pre-Incan bridge was made to appear and disappear at will. Of course, all solid objects have a vibration frequency within the range perceptible to the human eye. Some scientists consider that it might be possible to alter the vibration frequency into vibrations outside the visible range. In October 1943, secret experiments allegedly took place from the Philadelphia Naval Yard, in which an electromagnetic force field was created and a ship of the US Navy, fully crewed, was made to disappear. In other words, ship and crew became totally invisible. Pulsating energy fields produced an electronic camouflage. The explanation can probably be found in Einstein's unified field theory. Despite detailed evidence as to names, places, and times, the event is still officially denied. Yet, significantly, since then the great powers have developed infrared cannons sensitive not only to the visible shape of objects, but also to their thermal radiation, indicating that they seriously consider the possibility of war between invisible combatants.